worked hard to attain national and state historic designation. We have put forth a proposal to add local designation to further preserve our precious piece of history. The HPC and Planning Board voted to bring this designation in front of the City Council. At this point, a workshop has not been scheduled. Can you explain the holdup and state your position on this designation?
Something the mayor stated earlier as far as me being the holdup as far as Hinchliffe Stadium is concerned. Totally untrue. I actually called for the meeting. I brought all the parties together. The mayor was in attendance, the City Council, and myself. It just so happened that his relationship with some members of the Board of Education did serve as a stumbling block, and that's unfortunate, and that's why we're still talking about Hinchliffe Stadium in 2010 when that meeting took place in 2007. But nevertheless, as far as your historic preservation designation, I support it. I actually took the tour with Rich Walter on Good Friday last year, and I understand the importance of it as far as what it would mean to your community, because we talk about a high standard of living and maintaining that quality of life for everyone. So we do want to have certain standards that are adhered to, and we want to make sure that people abide by them. And that's why I was supportive then, and I'm still supportive now of this historic preservation designation.
For the last 8 years, I serve on the board of directors of Preservation New Jersey. I understand what historic preservation means, specifically to this city, where it's so rich in history. And so I was the one with a long conversation with my Historic Preservation Commission that we're one of the few cities that have an Historic Preservation Commission. But we haven't stopped, and I haven't stopped at that yet either. I've went ahead and I've lobbied as a board member of Preservation New Jersey with our legislators that will provide tax credits for historical preservation, so that once we get our designation, our homes designated as an historic site, then we'll be able to allow tax benefits and incentives so that the property owners could actually bring those mansions and bring those homes back up to the value of the historic richness and not really going broke at the same time.
Historic preservation. I spent a number of years doing research. My home happens to be one of the contributing properties in this historic district. And it caused me to do some research. I even called down to Washington, D.C. to find out the different standards of historic preservation and what that would entail. And my conversation with the gentleman, I wanted to see my notes, I'm half blind and crazy too. My conversation with the gentleman helped me understand that there are different tiers of historic preservation. And my concern to him from my own personal point of view, as well as from some of the folks who live in the Third Ward, particularly in the historic district, was how does someone who bought a house just to buy a house at one point in time, how do they now bridge that gap of expectation to turn this property that they may be struggling to maintain, or whatever the case may be,
10 seconds.
as it moves to the next tier? So understanding and supporting historic preservation, without question I do. Supporting it, absolutely. But it has to be done fairly and equitably. And it has to be done to consider as many of the possibilities before anybody just moves forward.